Good morning, everybody, and welcome everyone to Batavia, Ohio for today's action. The MCC ProAm Championship Series has its second round of the campaign here this morning. Good morning once again here on Kart Chaser. I'm Justin Prince alongside Brad Dalton for today's action as we get set to go for qualifying. Qualifying now heading the racetrack for 206 Master to start things off this morning. Brad, good morning to you. It should be fun to see how these drivers have learned from yesterday to try and battle for some good points here on this Sunday.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Of course, if you watch this not live, but if you're watching it live, it's a good Sunday morning to see some great racing here. Yesterday was absolutely astounding. The fact that it was round one kicking off the 2025 season, and a lot of heavy hitters came out guns blazing, ready to go. They were ready to bring some competition. Of course, everyone had the fiesta last night. I hope everyone got some good food in on the track. I hope everyone got to relax a little bit, because this Sunday is going to be very hard fought all the way through. Of course, 206 Masters qualifying was crazy. The races were wild, but we'll see if Sunday changes anything. The weather looks much nicer here today, Justin, I have to say, than it did yesterday. I don't know if it's actually warmer, but it looks so much nicer.
Yeah, it is very nice out here today. 55 degrees Fahrenheit is the temperature at the moment. Partly cloudy skies expected. The forecast expected to hit as high as 66 degrees Fahrenheit here in Ohio for the action today. So let's start things off with a discussion on what to expect when it comes to this class. Earlier today, Matthew Lida set the fastest time in final practice. That was a 109.3 he was able to put up in 3 laps of circulating around. But of course, yesterday started off the championship fight for this series. It was AJ Roderick who picked up a 300-point day to start off 2025. So we'll have to keep an eye on the 56. Remember, Elwood had to claw his way through the field to get a solid points day. He's starting the points in 4th with 226 points. Matthew Light and Matt Geist are the ones in front of him in the point standing. So for some of these drivers, a lot to prove and to try and gain today if they want to get a lot of lost time made up in the point standings.
Yeah, and it won't surprise me a bit to watch these drivers go through and really try to claw their way back up the points. Of course, one drop round gets applied at the end of the season, so you never know. Some of these drivers who have had a not so ideal start out here in round one, and as we have a kart already off in the grass, I did not realize that the 206 Master Karts were also lawnmowers here around MCC, but I'm sure the yard work will be much appreciated. It's not as wet or muddy as it was yesterday, so it should be a bit nicer here. But yeah, a lot of the drivers here want to kind of redeem themselves for what was not an ideal round one. Michael Wells, Travis Nancy, Renee Muller, Mike Doty will all be looking to have a better run today than they did yesterday, which is doable. You just kind of, it's weird because it's the same weekend, right? But you need to treat it like 2 separate races entirely. Don't let the bad of Saturday affect your Sunday. But if you had a really good Saturday, it makes Sunday a little bit easier for you.
Top of the board at the moment, carried by Matthew Lida. 108.563 is at the top of the session over Alan Elwood. That's in the 108.8s at the moment. As you see some of the packs fare out, Elwood is on his lonesome, way ahead of the rest of the field compared to some of the others like Lida, who are grouped together in a 3-kart pack. And again, this comes down to preference in qualifying. Some like to be alone, some like to have a carrot on the stick method. Elwood right now having some great pace once again, carrying forward in that 9-kart, or rather in that 5-kart. It seems here in second, needing to gain a few more tenths though if he wants to pull time.
Yeah, and the thing is, Elwood is fast. I know Elwood has some good pace, and being out there, on your lonesome, probably just how he feels fastest, all things considered. Using a lot of curb through turn 13. We saw a lot of great passes yesterday through turns 12, 13, 14, and I'm expecting to see more of the same today. Won't have to be as nervous, I think, about possibly sending things off into some mud, but You can still see a little bit of puddled water on the inside of 12 there, but I don't think it'll really affect things too much. We saw a lot of great switchbacks come through here in this section of the track, and I would imagine today will be more of the same, along with turn 2 and turn 11. Those are the big passing opportunities here, and as more times come in and more drivers get their karts up to speed and going here, 2 seconds, 1 second, that is time over on this master qualifying session. It goes very, very quick, Justin.
These drivers just have about 5 minutes to work around the racetrack. That, mind you, includes about a minute or so just to be able to hit the circuit alone. So it only leaves the drivers a couple minutes. Really set times, about 3 laps in total. Matthew Lyda currently top of the board. 108.5 still. Will there be a change this time? Let's take a look and see. Elwood last time by did not improve on his lap time. He's trying to push. Can he get himself in a few more tenths? Not enough for the pole time. 108.6. It's a 108.339 though from Lyda. To be able to improve his pole time to 3 tenths up. Derek Hastings in third spot. Ronald Swift, who charged through the field several times yesterday, in fourth. And Chris Gorman rounds out the top 5 in 206 Master qualifying. 16 karts a part of this field today. Very sporty class. It's expected to be fairly close, it looks like, based on the running order of note. Matt Geist deeper in the field today, Brad, in 7th.
Yeah, Matt, it seems like here kicking off this qualifying Sunday morning a bit further back there in 7th place, as you said. Looking back there round 1, I'm going to double check where he qualified in round 1, because I feel like he qualified a bit further up yesterday. He did. He qualified in P3, so not sure what's changed between Saturday and Sunday, but Matt Geist, a driver that we know, that kart, that 531, has a lot of pace. So I'm going to think that Matt Geist will be able to fight his way forward a little bit. But we've seen that passing is, it's doable, but it's still tricky. There's a weird back and forth about whether you could pass or not. So we'll see where Matt Geist can go from that 531. 16 karts, and we'll see who lands where when it's all said and done.
They roll on into the pit lane now to be able to go to the tech shed. So Matthew Lyda again setting the pole time. Once again, Alvin Elwood in second by 3 tenths of a second. Derek Hastings, Ronald Swift, Chris Gorman the top 5. Sean Kennedy in 6th. Matt Geist in 7th. Derek Galloway in 8th. Scott Mullison in 9th. Running at the top 10, Michael Wells, Austin Winter, Todd Davis, Mike Doty, Dan Monson amongst the running order in that one. So our next group of drivers are getting the green lights to go. Some people yet to leave the pit lane. Others already on the racetrack, including Tegan Snyder, 206 Juniors. Earlier today in practice, 206 Junior had Adler Klein lead the way in the session. So we'll see what happens here today in that class when it comes to the speed. How did the speed fare out yesterday? Mind you, Adler Klein, a 290-point day over Tegan Snyder's 270.
The one thing that really caught me yesterday was that qualifying was down to the wire. William Richard took qualifying pole there right at the line by a quarter of a second over Adler Klein. Very, very fast kart there to be found from that 587. We'll see if he can capitalize on it today as we are green track, qualifying through. And look at that, already seeing the helmet tuck starting, the follow the leader games being played here as that number 9 of Tegan Schneider is the lead kart here in the mix of the karts going through the 821 there of Shable, the next one. William Richard a bit further back from this top 3 with Kyler Cheesem in the 3rd kart behind, and we'll see how that plays out for all of these karts here. 206 Junior, I would argue, is a very competitive class.
Supposed to be very competitive, absolutely, here today. Snyder, Shable, Cheesem, Mole, and Richard on the racetrack. Layden Mole specifically. There's one currently circulating around. Others just now are hitting the timing beacon after some issues. Batham, Isaiah Maxey, should say, Cooper Mole, and Vince Krzyzewski, along with Adler Klein, are way at the other side of the racetrack. You see them in the backdrop. That's how big of a delay there was getting out of the garage area for some of those competitors that had a log jam to get back onto the racetrack. Let's see where the times fall to start things off. Snyder does not get the top time to start. It's Schabel who starts off with a 1:10.4. Many of these drivers, though, will be coming in the next 30-40 seconds for a lap time.
Yeah, and Schabel is that second kart in line, getting a faster time than Schneider, just by about a tenth of a second there to be found, and then 9 milliseconds separating Chisholm from the time that Schneider put in there in that number 9, and Chisholm is that third kart in line as we go through. Everybody putting in decent time starting out so far. As a reminder, yesterday was all cloudy and everything, but the pole time was a 1:10.5. Our times right now already faster, 1:10.4s for the top 3 as they continue along. Into turn 12 we go, follow through, and yeah, these 206 juniors are really just trying to ramp this up and find time as quickly as possible.
Adler Klein on the other side of the racetrack did put up a faster time than this group, 1:10.2s. Let's see how the counter blow fares out. It goes up for Chisholm to the 1:09.3. A part of this lead group. Chisholm, the third car in the draft, able to jump up by near 0.3 of a second for now. So far, so good for these drivers with about 1:17 to work with.
4 karts in the 109s here, absolutely flying around this MCC complex, and it is amazing to see the pace coming out here today. That's the difference cloud versus sun, and a day of running versus the next day coming in really makes as we go through. See, after that top 3, we have a lot of big space that's kind of coming around, and it doesn't surprise me a bit. There is this gaggle of karts that's coming through and continuing along, and hey guys, it's still qualifying. We don't have to race here, but if you feel you're faster, go ahead and leapfrog through like Adler Klein just did.
Adler Klein top board now by another 1/10.5. Him in that gaggle of cars on the other side of the circuit, you can tell. Just trying to get into his own rhythm here. The others that just started their 4th times around did not see any improvement amongst themselves in the session. And when it comes to today, what type of adjustments would you make when it comes to with what we're seeing with the weather conditions to make sure you're good to go for these qualifying sessions as they take the checkered flag here?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is that it's going to feel a lot better. It's not cloudy, the sun's out, so the track is going to have a little bit more grip. It's going to be a little bit warmer. There was plenty of rubber that was set down yesterday, so things are going to just feel more comfortable to the car. I don't know that you necessarily need to make any major adjustments. Is look at that 32 tuck and run there. That was a good push to try to get through. This group has now crossed the line. Adler Klein comes across with a new best time of a 1:09.0, but you know, looking at the times yesterday, again, that qualifying pole time was a 1:10.599, and we're already a 1.5 up. That is just the nature of sunshine. I can't speak on a Sunday morning. Sunshine here, and just feeling a bit more confident. You have a whole day of running under your belt versus, you know, the cloudy track coming in first round of the season, not knowing what to expect. That is the big difference that I'm seeing here, as everyone in the 206 juniors has now crossed the line, finished up their qualifying, and I tell you what, Adler Klein, very, very quick on the field.
Adler Klein putting up a 1:09 flat, able to set the pole time here, 3/10 up. Tegan Snyder in the running order here today. Kyler Chisholm in 3rd position. Jacob Scheibel in the 4th spot. Layden Moll in 5th. William Richard in 6th. Cooper Moll in 7th. Isaiah Maxey in 8th with Ryder Nesbitt in 9th. Ethan Langley in 10th. Kason Batham in 11th. And Krzyzewski rounding out the drivers in our 206 juniors. So our next group in the drivers will hit the track in just a moment. Qualifying continues here on Kart Chaser. Take a quick step aside. Our third grouping of drivers coming up in just a moment here on Kart Chaser.
All the way up to the finish line. Who is it going to be? It's Sean Perez who wins in Crescent.
Ty Fisher wins $1,000 in KA100 Junior.
Alex Stanfield played it perfectly here. Told him to wait. Stanfield wins the Duffy in 2024 for TV Kart.
Amarillo Kart Complex is now the official distributor for TV Kart in the continental U.S. Become a dealer today.
Hey, what's up, Caleb?
What's up, Brandon?
You sound defeated. A long day at the office?
Yeah, got stuck at a cat food marketing meeting for like 3 hours. I don't know a thing about cat food, and I don't even work in marketing. And then I got sent on a coffee run like I was some sort of intern. Then at the end of the day, when I want to go get gas, I just realized everything is so darn expensive nowadays, man.
Yeah, you got that right.
Like, do you have any idea how much we're spending on Netflix?
That's like 20 bucks a month.
Do you know how much we're spending on cable?
That's like 50 bucks a month.
But you know what isn't expensive?
Tell me.
Kart Chaser Premium. For only $9.99 a month, you can watch all the American karting action live from coast to coast. Subscribe and become a member today.
Paulie Massimino wins in KA. Paulie Massimino is a winner in OKN Stars.
Take your driving to the next level with one-on-one coaching from 2024 OKN Stars champion, Paulie Massimino. Kart rental options are available if you'd like to keep yours at home, and drivers in all classes are welcome, from Briggs 206 to Mini to KA100 and X30. With in-depth data analysis, onboard video footage review, and lead follow on-track sessions, each private coaching session will see you end as a more complete driver than when you started. Book your coaching session now.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself, quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
For our next grouping of drivers, it's the Cadets on circuit. We have some different names here today. Drew Snyder returns with Colton Hoos, but it's Jerome Wickham is now the third kart on the track. So we have a different driver coming in here, Brad, that didn't take part yesterday.
Yeah, and that is something, again, this is treated as two separate rounds, even though it's the same weekend, same time, and that is something that you will see, you know, coming through. Maybe something came up, couldn't make it to Saturday, and so Jerome jumping in here on the Sunday to get in some points, get things going. That is the benefit of a drop round at the end of the year. You know, if something comes up and you can't make one round, it doesn't hurt you to go ahead and just show up to the next one anyways on the next day and go through. So Jerome definitely going to be in the mix here to battle 4 karts today as opposed to 3. Maybe give a little bit more information to all of these drivers. Again, this is our cadet class, and for those who do not know what the 206 cadets are, this is 7 to 12-year-old kart drivers with a 265-pound kart. These are essentially the youngest drivers in the field that are just starting their karting careers. Some of them have been racing for a few years, but really just some of them still just learning the competitive side of things, and a lot of times they have the most fun on track, to be honest with you.
Yeah, today going to be interesting to see if we see some battling like we seen with the front two yesterday, or if we see things separate out in the session. Starting things up on the board, Wickham putting up a good time, and Lawson just now hit the time pylons as well, so Lawson is here as well. Can confirm. Wickham in the 110.7s, but Lawson in the 110.2s to begin this session. Drew Snyder not flying to begin things off, really back down to begin the qualifying run.
Yeah, and as we continue this qualifying run, you only have 5 minutes to get in a lap. So every lap counts more than you'd think here, as we have 2 minutes left to go already. Continuing to push. Times are going to continue to move back and forth, but I would say that by the time everything's said and done, these cadet karts are going to be very, very close in time. Looking at yesterday, comparing through, the times were separated. It was about half a second between Lawson and Schneider. Colton Hoops was very off the pace early in the day, but Colton Hoops by the end of the day, if you remember for the final yesterday, spent a lot of the time right on the back of Lawson and Schneider for a majority of that race. Had one little moment in the turn 12 and lost a bit of time, but otherwise was very close. And you can see right now that it is a very, very close field for all 4 karts here as they go through, not separated by much.
Continuing to build up speed around this track. Lawson top of the board, 196s, 109.635 specifically at the top of the board. Colton Hoops is still on track as well, just not circulating on the board for whatever reason, but he's still in the 111s last time around the qualifying session. Wickham going to be an interesting character to see about here today, because he's one of the drivers that's planned out 18 races across 5 states in the 12 kart. Someone that recently dominated his run at Big Machine Kartway in Nashville, start the month of March for his warm-up races back then. So, one of the many drivers also taking part in many championship series, including at Newcastle and of course here. He was actually born with X-linked hyperphagia. I might mispronounce that last part. XLH is the better way to phrase that. A rare genetic metabolic bone disease that affects his bone health, which he's become an advocate for that as a result of his racing experiences, attending races, events with his family, connecting others who share experiences. That perseverance is also carried to what's been some good speed showcased by the youngster for 12 Cube Motorsports so far. So an impressive storyline for him. It looks like he's going to be very competitive amongst your top 3 with Snyder at the top of the board now.
Yeah, and time's continuing to still flip around for who's where. It's amazing to know the story in the background of a lot of these karting drivers, regardless of what class they're in, their age, everything with that. Every one of these karting drivers has a story that deserves to be told. It's very fun to watch them go through and around here. Coming through across the line, will we see an improvement from that 12 kart? 12 kart comes towards the line, tucking very much, and yes, right as the checkered flag drops, no, Drew Schneider gets ahead of Wickman by just the slightest margin. 29 1/1000ths of a second is the gap between first and second, with Hayden Lawson coming across in third. And Colton Hoops will hold on to fourth. Still very close on the pace compared to where he qualified yesterday, but what a gap for the top 2.
Very close together. That's going to provide some potentially close racing in theory. We go racing behind the paywall later on today for the pre-finals and the finals. Be sure to join here on Kart Chaser to see that action here from MCC Cincinnati. So, it's Snyder at the top of the board. It's Wickham in second once again. It's Lawson in third. And Hoops in the 4th spot in this session. So, overall, the expectations starting to build a little bit more higher, with the competition level being very close amongst the top runners in theory here today in this cadet class, to say the very least, Brad.
Yeah, cadet class is going to be a fun one to watch all the way through. They are always competitive, and we're going to see the same thing whenever we go to micro minis a little bit later on in the day. They are always fun classes. You know, we always talk about they tend to be the best friends, and they tend to really have fun out on track here. So we'll see how that goes. Next qualifying session coming out underway here, and you see the karts coming out. This is 206 Seniors. This is going to be a fun one to watch as well as it goes through. That was a very competitive class yesterday, and well, AJ Roderick, yes, you've heard his name once today. For the second time today, we're saying AJ Roderick had a very good day yesterday and topped out the tables. We'll see if he can repeat that here today.
SD picked up 280 points yesterday. It's a tight points championship already, though, with Brandon Helton within 5 points of him so far in the standings. Brandon Heber, who leads this qualifying grouping on the racetrack, ended up third in the points table with 260 points, had to rally to the pack for parts of yesterday. So we'll see how these drivers fared in this session. Earlier today, it was Addison Iannello who led the way in final practice. That was with a 108.777 as the benchmark to keep an eye on for. AJ Roderick, though, did not take part in that practice session. So the first driver's now lining up on the racetrack. Gavin Degenhart rides in the draft of the 8 machine. As we already have 8+ cars making their way around the circuit to try and see what they can do, and we know Hebert's going to be pretty quick once again here today.
That we do. Hebert was our pole sitter yesterday out of senior qualifying when it was said and done, with AJ Roderick right behind. Of course, the pre-final and the final not going Hebert's way, but still leading out qualifying. We know there's pace in that number 8 car, and no surprise to see him in front of the field, trying to lead and trying to push things through here early on. Degenhart, I don't remember being in yesterday, and is one of those drivers that, again, was not in yesterday, actually, as I double-checked myself. So more karts out on track today, always produces crazier racing, so we'll see where this lands here as we have another kart coming in and around. And it looks like sticking right to the back there of Heber. Going through, first lap times will be coming in, and Justin, I have a feeling this is going to be a very closely contested qualifying, just like all of them today. Seems like there's just something in the air that makes this Sunday so much closer than Saturday was.
Yes, indeed, especially with the warmer conditions, a lot more racing competition coming out to play than being a Sunday. Brandon Heber top of the board right now with a 109.3. It's only 46 1/1000ths quicker than AJ Roderick's time put up on the session so far. Degenhart, car riding with the 8 machine, is also in the running for the pole. And the early going Iannello also up there. So 4 cars are within 74 1/1000ths of a second in the session so far.
I actually had to mute my mic to cough, and I saw that come across the time, and all I said was wow and stared at it. I thought that was a timing board error, but no, that is indeed correct coming across. We'll see how it replicates for the second lap as they come across. 1:45 left to go, so in theory 2 laps left, and let's just flip things again. Top 2 now separated by 61,000ths of a second here, and now it flip-flops again. AJ Roderick in that 56 kart gets the best of Iannello in the 46, with Braden Heber in the 8 now down into 4th place. Degenhart holds on to 3rd. Wyatt Deegan is in 6th, and Ben Lyda in the 991 is in 5th place currently. Top 5 separated by just 0.3 of a second, and then there's a bit more of a gap down to the rest of the field right now.
3 machines so far looking very solid now that the drivers are picking up their times. They have less than a minute to work with in the session. Remember, Roderick, some of that has a development program that he runs here with some of the drivers at the racetrack. Helps out with many of the drivers in terms of their speed, in terms of their setup side, and has also showcased in multiple classes why he is a threat to try and win once again here today. We'll see where he falls on the board this time around as they come across the stripe. Heber approaches the 108.5s Roderick ends up improving again. Sets an our fastest lap time, should say, by 3/10. Ben Lyda jumps to third.
Ben Lyda making that jump to third. Going to be a good confidence boost coming through. Final lap will be going around now as the clock has 5 seconds to go, and we continue around. Loving seeing the time going through. AJ Roderick in the 107s, only Kart in the 107s. Will anyone else find that extra time, though, coming through? It would not surprise me at all if we see a bit more time coming around. Look at the follow down through 8, 9, 10. The hard left-hander, bottom the hill, turn 11, up the hill, down the hill we go, and this is the final chance. Specht will be across the line in the 88 and will hold in P10. More karts coming through now. Final hurrah, who's going to land it? Is it Roderick, Iannello, Lyda, Heber, Degenhart, or Deegan? 6 karts that I think all have the possibility to find pole as they come across. Heber locks into third. Wow.
Iannello jumps to the top of the board, though, by 1/10 of a second, 100th of a second, I should say. Iannello to the top of the board, 107.9 over AJ Roderick at the end of the session in the 46 kart. How about that to be able to back up the practice speed to start off the day? So, it's Iannello, it's Roderick, it's Lyda, Heber, and it's the 3 machine rounding out the top 5. Able to get the edge right at the very end of the session for the 46.
Yeah, 46 of Iannello is going to be feeling really good, besting out Roderick by 100th of a second. Degenhart locked in 5th when it was said and done, and I said Heber was in 3rd, and then Ben Lyda had to make me a liar and decided to jump his way into 3rd there against Heber by just 1/1000th of a second. 4.55 versus a 4.56. Ben Lyda bested out Brayden Heber. 206 seniors, very, very tightly contested there, and I would say that is going to be a race start to watch coming up here later today.
Going to be very competitive in the seniors, to say the least, here in this one. So that wraps up the qualifying for the 206 portion of the sessions. Next up in the order is KA100 Junior qualifying. Now, they did switch around the order of the sessions, by the way. The juniors and the masters flipping around for today. So it will be the juniors that will get to hit the racetrack beforehand with that change. So outside of that, everything else staying pretty much the same compared to yesterday. So overall, how did things go in the in the KA100 Juniors in terms of the sessions? KA100 Juniors, Adler Klein led the way in the point standings over Homer Heeman, who had to charge from the back for an issue in the pre-final. A 280-point day for Adler Klein, starting things off for 2025. Robert Lashl's showed speed with 250 points. Let's see what happens here today, Brad.
Yeah, these KA100s, I like the juniors being flipped around to go first. They're fast karts here, and the KA100 Juniors, again, for those who may be newer into karting, aren't familiar with the class setups, the KA100s, it's a different style of engine here and compared to the 206s we saw, hence the different numbers and different names. But this KA100 Junior class is ages 12 to 15, 320 pounds in total. Very quick karts, very fun karts to watch going around. A lot of big names, a lot of competition to be found between all of the classes. So we'll see how this goes. You see everyone kind of getting a cheer on, the drivers getting a cheer, and it looks like the track official making the way through, getting ready to let the karts go and get this KA100 qualifying underway. Things are going to get real fast, real quick here as the competition continues to heat up for them. I'm excited to see who can take on Heaton when it's all said and done.
Can't wait to see how the racing goes, to say the least. Absolutely, too. It should be fun. See what happens once these competitors, again, yesterday, the final going the direction for this class of Homer Heeman on his charge through the field. Underway for qualifying do things once again. We're all set to go once more for more qualifications. And overall, I asked this question a bit yesterday. I'll ask this now. What's your best approach to making sure we attack the track just right in qualifying?
So yesterday I kind of said that it was about getting a good lap in and then continuing to push. I think the problem is everything's so close and so competitive here that you kind of can't afford to not come out on your A game. It all starts in kind of that setup before you even get down into the pit area when you're sitting in the cart waiting for that green light to be launched out of turn 2 onto the track to fly down and try to find your laps here around MCC. You basically have to get your head in the game right on the go. No hesitation, no pause, and as soon as you get out here, you have to be ready to go. But you also need to find that balance of not over-driving. A lot of these drivers we saw yesterday had GoPros on the side of the carts. We see them right here, GoPros attached. And what they would have done last night, other than go enjoy the fiesta here at the track, is they would have went and probably watched that film and said, what can I do different? Where can I find more time? And where can I continue to improve and strive? And that is the mentality you have to have all the way around this track. As a driver, though, when you go into qualifying, it has to be pure focus. And you have to know that when you get off this track, you left nothing to be found.
So once again, qualifying is underway for these drivers, already burning more than a minute off the board. Klein amongst one of the first drivers in the lineup, as to be expected with speed. You have Alex Kusher, you have Jacob Scheibel, you have Alejandro Gallego, Lyle Beck, Josiah Phillips, Robert Lash, Nico Katowski, Homer Heeman, Drake Williamson, rounding up the drivers who are all on circuit to start the qualifying session. First time coming on through already at the front of the field from Adler Klein. It's 101.5 to set the standard to start off the qualifying session for the juniors. However, others coming in the 102, some of them in the 106s to begin the session. There's a look over at the front of the field on how they're sorted there. And that includes some of the drivers just trying to make sure keep things at bay and keep things at pace. Homer Heeman at 8:34 has just jumped to second on the board. So, taking a look at seeing what happens here. That includes Lyle Beck, who's following along in the tire tracks of the cart in front of Gallego, who are following along with.
As we watch them follow along here, Homer Heeman in second has already outdone his pole lap from yesterday. So again, we talk about it, the track has ramped up, pace is being found. We're now into the 1 minute. Adler Klein putting in a 1 minute .9. So continuing to find time here as they go through and around. And as these two carts cross the line, who is going to be faster and where is time going to be found? Well, Beck and Gallego coming through. They swap between 7th and 8th. You see a little bit of sliding there from that 8:33 of Adler Klein. Adler Klein out in the lonesome, but very clearly this is just working very well for Adler Klein for now. Just sticking alone and focusing on your own run. Don't worry about carts around you. Look at the apex, tuck a little bit there, down the hill, and then in turn 12, stand up. A little bit of a slide there. And Adler Klein has a lot of cart control, Justin. That is the one thing I caught with Adler Klein yesterday, is there's a lot of cart control to just do that little slide, enough to be on the absolute ragged edge of grip in that cart, but get the most speed out of it.
See if he keeps the improvements up this time. No, he was 3/10 slower this time by. So Klein still looking very strong for the rest of this session. Everybody else is about where 12, 13, and 14 are in terms of some of the main competitors on the track map as the time goes on. Gallego also just set an improvement on the time, but it's still in the 8th position. Homer Heeman has just jumped up the 8:34 cart to the top of the board just now with a 1 minute 7. So Homer to the top of the board.
8:34, that's a fast cart, so you've got to keep in mind Homer Heeman going all the way through this Sunday event regardless of what session it is. That is a kart that can really find some pace. All of these junior karts, granted, can find a lot of pace, but Homer Heeman, we know, is fast. Alec Kushner there in third. Checkered flag out, and Adler Klein is going to jump back with a 1:06, but we're not done yet, Justin. Kushner there in the 878 will lock in third. Where is Heeman, though?
Let's keep an eye on it as you see them coming around the final corner. Some of the drivers now zip their way to the stripe. Lauerbeck falls down. Gallego improves. As Heeman did not improve on their time to close out the session. Nico Katowski, though, jumped to third, pushing Kutcher down the order. The end of the session. So Adler Klein looks like going to get the pole.
Great run there from Klein to get the pole, and it looks like something happening there after the final lap. That is the 809 of Drake Williamson already down in 10th place, and that's going to make a bad day a little bit worse. They're stuck off the side. It looks like having a spin there, trying to find just that last little bit of time, and unfortunately that is going to be all she wrote as the juniors make their way in.
Factory Kart stopping the track. They are in the 1:08 bracket, the lowest out of the drivers in the running order. They now come down pit road for the KA100 Juniors. So once again, Klein, Heeman, Katowski, Kutcher, and Lash the order in the top 5 in qualifying. Scheibel finished off in 6th, Phillips in 7th, Gallego in 8th, Beck in 9th, Williamson in P10. So far, sprinting our way forward now. That's going to bring us to the Masters now. The KA100 Master qualifying is due up next. You see the Kutchers put on some eventful moments with some of the troubles they had in terms of mistakes, but the Kutchers put on some dominating speed as a whole yesterday, Brad.
That they did. Of course, the 299 of Andy getting the best in pre-final of Chris. Chris having a spin, final lap going through turn 2 and 3, but having such a gap that it didn't matter. Was able to hold on to second place. Now, final was a different story yesterday, and if you missed that, well, Andy and Chris got together going into 2, and it spelled the end of the day for Andy, which gave Andy a big disadvantage in the points as they sit, but we'll see. Did Chris and Andy sort this out last night? Are they still best friends? They're family, of course, but are they still friends? Are they going to work together on track, or what is going to happen there, as it looks like we are waiting on a little bit of cleanup there from the juniors?
Well, we take a step aside while they get the kart off the racetrack and sorted. Qualifying continues right after this. Green lights blinking, and that means we can go as they get the kart off the racetrack. Underway for KA100 Master qualifying. So Chris Kutcher is the one leading the point standings as a result of how yesterday fared out for Andy. 290 points were scored by the 279 machine. Damian Jennings scored 255 points in the second spot in the standings. Neil Hamilton followed by Andy Kutcher. Paul Meese and Greg Leahy were the other drivers who took part in racing yesterday. And we know the Kutchers are going to be fast again today. But the matter is going to be, it's going to be the question to what you asked yesterday, Brad. who learned from yesterday to improve for today?
I can tell you right now that Andy and Chris, if they've learned anything, it's maybe don't wreck into each other. That would be a very important thing to learn for those two. I'm sure they already knew that coming in, but of course when you have those little moments here and there, it kind of re-emphasizes the importance of making sure you have a friend on track sometimes. But we'll see Andy already trying to push Chris forward, getting a lot of pace out of that kart early, closing in a gap, leaving enough room ahead to try to just not cause issues. Don't want any sort of bump drafting, weird situations going from these two karts, but you can already see the gap continuing to close. Andy is very clearly the faster kart between him and Chris, at least here on this first lap through the first two sectors. Now we go through 8, 9, 10, the hard left-hander turn 11, up the hill and down towards 12, and that gap is still closing. Will they do any position flipping here? Will we see the leapfrog to get Andy ahead of Chris to try to find even more time?
A lot of good questions to ask for here today, as right now 5 drivers taking part in this session. Driver not recording times right now is Paul Meese in terms of those who took part yesterday. So first times are in. 101.185 coming from Chris Kutcher. The rest of the drivers now come on through on time. 101.185 for Chris. 101 flat for Andy Kutcher in the 097 range. 7/10 up over the rest of the field. So it's looking like those two yet again backing up their pace as we continue to look at Damian Jennings, third quickest in session, and the others continuing to circulate around on track. Neil Hamilton in fourth.
Yeah, Neil Hamilton, Greg Leahy, the other two karts trying to go through, and you saw Neil Hamilton really giving a bit of a slide there through turn 4 as he went, trying to find a bit more time, just a little bit more to give, I feel, from that kart as they continue along, coming through turns 12, 13, 14 complex. How do Andy and Chris fare this time? Well, let's wait and see where the time logs in, and it looks like it is going to be Andy holding out ahead of Chris by just 2/10 there. Damian Jennings improves a little bit. Neil Hamilton will improve slightly, and so does Greg Leahy. But still, it is Andy and Chris, the 299, the 279, that have just the grip on this field, the grip on this track, and the pace to really challenge through. And as a reminder, just where pace is sitting, they're a second up on where they were at yesterday. So they still are finding more time as this weekend continues.
Yeah, getting faster and faster as this session progresses as well. Both of them improving last time by with personal best. We've seen the two of them swap back and forth in practice and qualifying. You can just see how much these karts almost want a grip roll in 13 and 14 though today. Almost three-wheel, in fact, are three-wheeling it in that part of the racetrack. It's so intriguing to watch for. As this time by, a pass made by Andy and Chris. They go back and forth. Andy moving in front of Chris, it looks like there.
Yeah, and that is going to be all important. And I got to wonder if that's planned or if that's just the case of, hey, I have more pace, so I'm getting through now, so let me go. And that one really wouldn't surprise me either if this is the case of just, I have more pace, I should be ahead of you. And they flip-flop positions, continue along. We'll see where things land through 8, 9, 10 again, through 11. And look at that, Andy is building a gap out of 11. So very clearly, the faster kart between the two Kutchers today is Andy. And we'll see if that continues through pre-final and final. We know Chris has pace, and Chris can find race pace and competition to go through. Coming around here through 12, 13, 14. Again, those karts trying to just hold the grip, slightly lift off a wheel, but everyone able to keep it together. Across the line we go, and Andy will stay ahead of Chris with a 1:02.
Able to improve on his time a little more. Chris with that pass attempt, lost a 10. As a result, Damian Jennings will qualify in third. Neil Hamilton in fourth. Greg Leahy rounding out the 5 drivers who took part in this session. Let's take a quick step aside. Our next qualifying group coming up. Once again, you're watching Kart Chaser from MCC Cincinnati.
Brandon, Why are there all these charges for just over $200?
I'm tired of all this branding business, okay? Branding this, branding that. Why are there all these expenses on AKR over $200? We know, okay? Take a walk with me. At Shop AKR, they have everything you need to start racing at a very cheap and affordable price. They have MXC rims, they got chains, electrical stands, tilt seats, they got MXCs. And if you didn't know, on top of that, any purchase in the continental US over $200, that's free shipping. Hey, aren't you supposed to be in the AKR Anonymous meeting over there? Dude, I'm doing a commercial. Dude, we have no time. It's about to start. Stop. We all love Shop AKR. Me? More than others.
Our next group is on the racetrack. It's the minis, it's the micros. As now they look to qualify well here today. So, how were things yesterday in those two classes? Minis, well, there was two karts and there was issues for them in the final. They didn't take part in the final. It was Drew Snyder who ended up scoring the most points on the round. As a result, Drew Snyder over Jackson Frank. 300 to 270 was the point differential. The micros yesterday, Jack Katelski picked up the 300-point day over Wyatt Huntsbarger. Griff Heeman in third with 250 points scored. Bethany Richards scored 235 points. All six of those karts essentially are here today. Once more here, Brad. We'll see how they fare out in this one.
Yeah, seeing how the six karts go. Of course, yesterday we talked about it. It was very weird to see a micro beat the minis, but I would not be surprised if we see something similar happen today going through, as we see a very, very slow kart going through. The number 13, Richards, trying to, it looks like, just get up to speed and get going there. Bethany Richards bringing things around as we have, again, that 142 of Jackson Frank, very quick. Drew Snyder, the 111, going around just behind. So we'll see if the minis have a bit more pace today than the micros, or if it will indeed be Jack Kotowski in the micros who will outdo the minis, which either way is possible. Honestly, either way is possible. I was very, very surprised yesterday.
Absolutely. Still 3 minutes to work with here in this qualifying session. All the returning drivers from yesterday. Right now we'll see where they go at the top of the board. Frank and Snyder, it looks like, coming around here. It's going to be Drew Snyder who starts off the session by a couple tenths up. Ryan Huntsbarger has a big cushion over everybody else in running order though. And we see Jack Katelski, one of the drivers with national experience, once again backing up speed 3 seconds quicker than the 33 to start.
I don't think the 33 had a great first lap going through, and I don't think Griffey Heeman or Bethany Richards have had a great first lap either. Unfortunately, you can't afford that in a class this fast and competitive. Jack Kotowski just 42/100ths off of the pace of Jackson Frank in the micro kart. That is just where the pace is landing, and as times come in for Griff Heeman, a 124 and a 126 for Bethany Richards. So very clearly, they are both not on the same pace bracket here for the first lap, but they are both quick, so I'm sure the times will continue to come in. Schneider still ahead of Frank coming through, finishing the second lap. Let's see how they go this time, if they flip-flop or not.
Will there be a change up amongst them? We'll take a look and see. Mind you, Snyder's already pulled away by half a second on the board. This time by, there is an improvement, 106.2. There's a lot of separation after Wyatt Huntsbarger, mind you. Heeman, first time was in the 1 minute 24 seconds. Bethany Richards, the 1 minute 26s. A lot of time differential, you can say at the very least there. So, as well, when it comes to the racing, it's going to be curious what the minis do yesterday, of course, both of them having problems with incidents in the pre-final. How do you approach today, knowing what happened in the pre-final?
Really what they should do is be a little bit more careful and maybe just watch that racecraft a little bit more of what they do for a battle. What's actually going to happen, they're probably going to continue to race really hard and battle, and that is just kind of the nature of what these drivers do. Again, for those who are new or not as familiar, this is our mini micros, and they go in the same class as KA100s, but this is the 7 to 10 or 9 to 12-year-old age range, same as the 206 Cadets, and you'll recognize Drew Schneider from the 206 Cadets leading through, and Drew Schneider currently leading qualifying here, going around. So, I mean, really, they're still going to race hard. They're going to race competitive. Maybe the one thing they'll take away from yesterday is be a little more cautious and think a little bit more long-term, but at the same time, they can't afford to be too safe because this is Sunday. You have no more racing after today, so you can't afford to think, oh, I can wait till the next time, because there's really not a next time after today.
At least for this round, until you go all the way to June, until the next time they race on the racetrack. Checker flag waving in the minis and the micros here. Let's take a look and see, will there be a change? Drew Snyder top of the board, no changes on the times at all. So Snyder will get the pole in the minis. Right now it looks like Jack Gutowski looking comfortable in his class. Griff Heeman, but a 1:23.2 for his best time. Jack Gutowski confirmed gets the micro pole. Not bad qualifying session all for these drivers.
And not a bad qualifying session at all, especially when you remember, you know, it's still building experience, building comfort in the kart, comfort in the track, going through and doing a great job all the way around, all of these drivers to complete this qualifying session. And again, I feel like the balance of the force is restored here because you don't have Jack Gutowski, the micro, mixed in with the minis there. Even though they are separate classes, they are slightly different. You have the minis ahead of the micros, how it normally is here. So we'll see where that lands. Again, though, Jack Gutowski not off by much. Going through as the hand comes up, signaling, coming into the pits out of turn 16, and we will see racing a little bit later from him and get things going with, we go from this class that I absolutely love. It's, you know, these small young racers, really quick, getting comfortable in their craft. And now we go to the shifter karts, which, as I said yesterday, is just the polar opposite of what we just watched. This is where things get crazy.
Pro Shifter definitely putting on a show yesterday. There is one note. Charlie Stein's not here today as he is in Indiana to test a Wing 305 sprint car. Remember, he's one of the drivers that's a pro on the national circuit. So he got what he was looking for yesterday in terms of getting some experience. He said it was good seat time, mind you, before the SKUSA Pro Tour later on next month, as he hasn't raced here in a while. So it's good to get some experience built up for that pro race.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to go into a pro race like that, a big competition where you're just kind of rusty and maybe not feeling it. So anything you can do to really get warmed up in the kart, get some competition, is going to be very important. So, Charlie, good luck with your 305 sprint car test. Wish you were here, but again, I think testing a Wing 305 sprint car, lots of fun, a very multifaceted driver. So, glad to know that you also got the time to warm up here, get comfortable as these shifter karts are getting rolling. And you can see they kind of have to roll to get themselves started here, do a little bit of a just a bump start and then very slowly pulling out. But I can tell you what, the pace slow is not going to stay for long. These karts can go about 55 miles an hour around this track.
Off and away we go for third qualifying session now. How did the Pro Shifters go? It was Ocasio yesterday over Steins. Ocasio, I should say, getting the top time with 290 points day. Steins picked up a 280. Mitchell Lowry picked up 250 points. Nikolai Dukov picked up 235. Also in the 200 bracket was Seven Haddock with 220 points over the course of the day. 13 total drivers took part for points in the Pro Shifter yesterday. So let's take a look at how they're going to fare out earlier today in practice, in the warm-up session, should say. Mitchell Lowry actually led the session over Nikolai Dukov. Seth McCaddock in third, Jeff Light and Fred Robertson rounded out the top 5 yesterday. So we'll see who competes here today. We'll see who does well here today. There are some of the junior shifters as well of note in this field that we'll have to keep an eye on throughout this one. That includes a couple of the drivers for the junior shifters that are working to see that become an official class. The 9 of Ethan Langley, the 4 of Eli Furnish yesterday, or today should say, the 25 of Layden Mull are those drivers that are considered the junior shifters today. So that was talked about by drivers for junior shifter. That is something being worked on as a potential official class in the future. That is being discussed for future.
Yeah, and it'll be nice to see that separation come out between junior and pro shifters. I do think that that is a difference that can be split and kind of show for the difference through. But at the same time, they're also fast that, you know, they mix in very well, even if it is the difference between the junior and the pro shifters. Big difference there. It's going to be a bit of racecraft, a bit of knowledge, and just a bit of comfort, I would say, in the Kart as it goes. I do want to point out, you know, you said Jonathan Ocasio having a great drive yesterday. I don't know if you remember this or not, but we had 2 karts go into that expanded turn 1 runoff and hit the barrier in turn 1. It was Ethan Langley, one of them, and Jonathan Ocasio, the other. So Ocasio in qualifying did not get to put in a lap, and neither did Ethan Langley, the 214 and the 9 karts. They started 12th and 13th in the pre-final. So the fact that Ocasio is currently leading the points, that's a huge run. And then, of course, the pole sitter from yesterday, Charlie Stein's not here today. So, I mean, this is really anyone's guess how today goes.
Yeah, it could be any direction here. Mind you, Haddock in second at the moment, 2 in this session. Nikolai Dukov is at the top of the board with the 55.497. Look, his kart's on racetrack, putting on a stellar drive at the top of the board as these competitors make their way around. There's a look over now to the 92 of Haddock. He's one of the many drivers that race for TKG. He's been driving with the team since 2020, in fact, with this experience. Originally from Greenville, Ohio. And right now, the Ohio-based driver, like many competitors in this field today, just trying to keep the corners straight in terms of the momentum. But it's still Nikolai Dukov, who looks to be the top driver to keep an eye on. This time by to the pole, once again with a 55.007.
Immediately responds, Mitchell Lowry does, and knocks out Dukov from pole down into second. Mitchell Lowry with a 54.9. We're officially in the 54s in shifter qualifying. So that is pretty impressive to see here as they go through 3 karts separated by less than a tenth. Dukov, Haddock the third, and Lowry just separated by less than a tenth, and plenty of time to be found from every kart that is currently sitting on track as they go. Langley, Richard down in 9th and 10th. They are flip-flopping positions around, but it's all eyes on the top 3 as they come around. They're completing their next laps here. 292 of Haddock the third will be the first driver to complete a lap and goes into the 54.945.
Not bad whatsoever for Mitchell Lowry. One of the drivers also with some pro experience that we've seen good speed from yesterday. So far, session's seen a lot of back and forth. Yesterday, just for a comparison's sake, in the pro shifter final, it was Casio picking up the win. Lowry ended up in third, 6.7 seconds back. It's time to checker flag. Checker flag is already waved in the session. Jeff Light is locked up 5th. Doug Duff in 6th. Drewski in 7th. Layden Mull is currently 8th overall on track. Let's see if there's any more changes here. Langley and Richard have already locked up 9th and 10th officially on the track. This time by Haddock goes to a 54.835. What's the response from Dudkoff? Not fast enough to take the pole. Lowry not fast enough to take the pole either. That leaves just Fred Robertson amongst the drivers on the track. What will Robinson do? It looks like already coming down pit road. So, Haddock, the third, taking the pole, Brad, in the Pro Shifter.
Yeah, Haddock had a lot of pace yesterday as well. Safin Haddock, the third there, qualified P3 yesterday, so no surprise to see up there in the competition, in the running. Top 4 separated by not a lot, to be honest. Top 5 separated by just a second and a half, which is impressive to see that run through. That gets the shifters sorted out here and their run, and now we're going to pivot to the KA100 ProAms, the last qualifying session here on our Sunday. This is going to be a crazy one to see.
This is a massive field as well of competitors ready to go for today. Earlier today in warm-up, Ben Lina led the way in the session. 16 karts ready to go for KA100 Senior. Will Steele was up there as well. Addison Iannello amongst the double-digit drivers, or rather double-duty competitors. In third, Carter Thompson finished fourth in the warm-up with Ryan Miller amongst the top 5 earlier as well. Coming into today, Howard is looking in the Pro-Am Kart class. In terms of point standings, well, quite simply. Comes to these drivers. Will Steele led the way with 300 points scored yesterday. Well, Carter Thompson's 270, I know, scored 245. So who are you watching out for the most here today in the Pro-Am class here in this one?
Will Steele. I feel like I have to watch Will Steele. Now, Jacob Petticord in that number 88 car did impress me yesterday, though, and had a lot of good pace. So I feel like Jacob Petticord would also be a kart to watch going through the day. But I feel like if you don't, look at Will Steele. Braden Heber, though, is also fast. Ben Lida is fast and was fastest in warm-up. So there's a lot of very fast, very close karts, but Will Steele having such a good day yesterday, I feel like saying anyone else is probably blasphemous.
Yeah, potential lead to say the least, but drivers now getting circulated around the racetrack. A massive grid of karts ready to go for qualifying. So we are all set to go here, looking to see who goes to the top of the board in this session. By the way, the temperatures continue to rise still. 57 air temperature at the moment, but expected to get hotter, as mentioned, around the 60s as time goes here this morning to the afternoon. Remember, after this session, we go behind the paywall here at Kart Chaser. Become a member today. You want to be able to keep an eye on the racing here from Batavia, Ohio, as they zip around this afternoon. So we'll see where these first times will go in the session. First times coming on through. Carter Thompson right now amongst some of the quick drivers as these drivers set 1 minute to begin the session.
And they're all quick. I mean, look at this. Everyone's setting a lot of karts setting 1 minute. Top 8 are all in the 1 minute something window here, so that's impressive to see. Times are starting to tick through. Everybody running and very much pushing those times in. A 1 minute, almost 1 minute flat, 1 minute .004 from Ben Lida. That's the pole position alive right now with Rush Gary in second at a 1 minute .3. So still tons of time to be found. These karts are racing in groups, well, qualifying in groups. So you've got groups together. You see some teammates trying to work together and find some time. We'll see how things play out here.
Yeah, some of the TKG drivers swapping back and forth. Ben Lida goes into the under 1 minute bracket with the 991 machine moving up to the 59.883 in session so far. He's in the 991 machine. In terms of the number plate, here in this session, what a start for him. Jacob Petticourt up there. A lot of drivers who did not qualify well as well yesterday, showing great improvements today.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big key. It's what did you learn yesterday to improve today? You know, you could treat this as two separate sessions, two separate days. You can look at it as one weekend. There's a lot of different ways to kind of go with it. But I think the one thing to really be aware of when it's all said and done is that you have to continue to learn and improve. And also the weather is significantly different. I mean, it was very dark, cloudy yesterday, 52 degrees outside. And today, as you said, it's almost 60 degrees already. And we haven't even hit 11:30 yet here at track. So we're still going to see it warm up. It's going to get nice and comfortable, and a warm track is a fast kart track. So we'll see everyone continue to improve, and some drivers may just do better in a warm track than they do on a cooler track. It just depends on how they feel.
Army of TKGs all lined up astern. You see on screen. Of course, Trinity Karting Group, this is the home track for that circuit and for that team, one of the national teams. How much does that help you as an organization when you have a home track like this, where you're able to have one of the top tracks in the country as your home base?
Oh, it helps a bunch because there's so much to this track. If you look at the track layout, I mean, you've got twisty bits through 8, 9, and 10. You've got the long sweeping left-hander, turn 12 into 13 and 14, which are just a tight left into a tight right after a long sweeping left. That can be very challenging to learn and master. You've got long straightaways with tons of pace potential through. Out of 15 here, 16, 1 and 2. Plenty of time to be found there. I mean, calling this your home track is so nice because there's so much that can be done here, so much time that can be found, and so many skills that you can master that carry over into so many other tracks. Checkered flag has dropped, and who's at the top? I called it.
Well,
Called it.
Yeah, Jacob Petticourt is at the top of the board right now. It is a 59.727 for Petticourt, but does that last with some of these drivers finishing up here? Ben Lida, Will Steele, Rush Gary, Addison Iannello in the top 5, Braden Heber in 6th, Ryan Miller 7th, Carter Thompson in 8th, Isaac Gardner right now at 9th. But will that stick for some of these drivers? Here's the change. Steele not able to move up. He goes only to 2nd as the last of the drivers come across the stripe. It's Petticourt who takes the pole, Ben. Or rather, Bradley. Oh, hold on. They just cycled it to Ben Lida now. They just cycled it again.
Petticourt drops to 6th. What has happened here? It had Petticourt up on pole, but now it's cycled him back down to 6th. I don't know what's changed that, but now it's Ben Lida ahead of Will Steele with Rush Gary in 3rd.
So Ben Lida looks like be on the pole here as a result of the time cycling around a 59.5. Will Steele behind him in 2nd, Rush Gary 3rd, Braden Heber and Ryan Miller, the organization right now on the board. Iannello, Petticourt, Gardner, Lucas, and Presto amongst the top 10 in session. So your thoughts on the qualifying session as that wraps up qualifying?
That was a great close qualifying session. Everybody very closely matched in pace. I mean, your top 8 are separated by under a second, which is impressive to see as we go through such a strong qualifying session, and it really, really sets kind of the pace for what should be the rest of this Sunday of very, very competitive racing.
Yes, indeed, but we'll take a bit of a break at about noon. We'll be behind the paywall when we go racing for the pre-final and the finals. We hope to see you then. Until that time, I'm Justin Prince for Brad Dalton for everyone at Kart Chaser. We'll see you later on this morning for some afternoon racing here from MCC Cincinnati.